He meditated when he was alone, and I prayed to God to guide me to the right religion and forgive me if what was making it wrong. I had never had any contact with Muslims. The only people he knew who claimed that Islam was their religion were the followers of Elijah Muhammad, who were referred to by many as black Muslims, or the found lost nation. Was during this period in the late 70s that Minister Louis Farrakhan was rebuilding what was called the Nation of Islam. I went to listen to the Minister Farrakhan through the invitation of a coworker, and it was an experience that it would change my life dramatically. I had never heard a black person speak in my life the way he spoke. I immediately wanted to arrange a meeting with him to try to convert him to my religion. He liked to evangelize in the hope of find lost souls to save from hell, regardless of who were. After graduating from university, I started working full-time. I was reaching the peak of my ministry, Elijah Muhammad's followers becoming more visible, and I appreciated his efforts in trying to alienate the black community from what it was destroying from within. I started to support them, in a way, by buying his literature and even meeting with them to dialogue. I attended his study circles to find out exactly what they believed. Although knew that many of them were sincere, he did not buy the idea of God being a black. He disagreed with his use of the Bible to support his position on certain affairs. This was a book that I knew very well and was deeply aware of. Disturbed by what he considered his misinterpretation, I attended schools with local support, and I became very well versed in various branches of study biblical. After 6 years, I moved to Texas and joined 2 churches. The first church was led by an inexperienced young pastor and not very well versed. My knowledge of Christian scriptures by this time had developed into something abnormal. We're obsessed with biblical teachings. I began to delve into the scriptures, and I realized that I knew more than the current leader. As a show of respect, I left and joined another church in a different city where I felt I could learn more. The pastor of this particular church was very well versed. It was an excellent teacher, but had some ideas that were not the norm in the organization of our church. I held some liberal views, but I liked his indoctrination. Soon I would learn the most valuable lesson of my Christian life, which was, all this glitter is not gold. Despite its outward appearance, there were evils occurring that I never thought possible in the church. These evils made me reflect deeply, and I began to questioning the teaching to which he was so dedicated. Welcome to the real world of the church. I soon discovered that it prevailed a great envy in the ministerial hierarchy. Things have changed in relation to that I was used to. Women wore clothes that I thought shameful. People dressed to get attention, usually from sex opposite. I discovered how much money and greed played a role in the operation of church activities. There were many small churches in difficulties and called us to hold meetings to help raise money. I was told that if a church did not have a certain number of members, I shouldn't waste my time preaching there because I wouldn't get a big financial compensation. I explained that I wasn't in it for the money and that he would preach even if there was only one member present, and would do it in a way that grace. This caused unrest. I began to question those I thought that they possessed wisdom, to find that they had put on a show. Learned that money, power, and position were more important than teaching the truth about the Bible. As a student of the Bible, I knew full well that there were errors, contradictions, and fabrications. I thought people should be exposed to the truth about the Bible. The idea of exposing people to these aspects of the Bible, it was a thought supposedly attributed to Satan. But I started to do it. I publicly ask my teachers during Bible lessons, which none of them can answer. None could explain what Jesus was supposed to look like God and how, at the same time, he was supposed to be the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit wrapped up in one and yet not be a part of the Trinity. Several preachers finally agreed that they did not understand, but that they should believe it. Cases of adultery and fornication remained unpunished. Some preachers were caught with drugs and destroyed their lives and the lives of their families. It was found that the leaders of some churches were homosexual. There were even pastors guilty of committing adultery with the young daughters of members of other churches. All of this is associated with the failure to receive answers to what I thought were valid questions was enough for me to seek a change. This change came when I accepted a job in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.